My name is Lionel Robinson and I'm a program manager on the BCS engineering team. In previous videos, we showed you how to surface external data into SharePoint through external lists and how to take this data offline into Outlook and SharePoint Workspace. In this video, I'll show you how to easily create external content types using SharePoint Designer. These serve as the building blocks for these types of solutions. In this demo, we're going to be using a database connector. In future videos, we'll show you how to easily use other connectors such as web services and .NET assemblies. Here we are at the Contoso homepage. To start, let me show you the backend system that we're going to create a model for. Using SQL Management Studio, we have a view into our backend database where we have a promotions table with columns such as name, category, start date, and end date. Now to start creating our model, we go to SharePoint Designer and open our site. This is the home page for our site in SharePoint Designer. On the left nav, we're going to go to External Content Types. This is going to show us a list of external content types which have already been installed on our server. To create a new one, click the New External Content Type icon in the ribbon, specify the name, the display name, the namespace, and the version. For Office item type, we have 5 choices: generic list, which is the default, appointment, contact, task, or post. This will define how our external data will behave when we want to take it offline to Outlook. In this case, we have start and end dates, so it would be great to eventually view the promotions in an Outlook calendar as appointments. Now let's click the external system link to discover our backend database. We do not have any discovered connections, so let's go ahead and add one. For our demo, we're going to be using an SQL database connection. So we just have to specify the server name, database name, and an optional name that we can use to identify the connection later. To handle the connection to our database server, we have 3 options: user identity, which is what we'll use, impersonated windows, and custom identity, which use secure store service. We're going to explain this in another video. Once the connection is established, we can browse the schema of our backend system. Since we are connecting to a database, we can see the tables, columns they have, and even identify the primary keys for each table. By right-clicking the promotion table, we can now create the operations for create, read, update, and delete. Since we're working with a database, we have the additional option to create all the operations at once. This will open up a quick and easy wizard. As you can see, the primary key has already been specified. On the bottom, we have a list of warnings which will let us know what we are missing to complete the operations. For the first one, since we specified the appointment office type, there is a required set of office properties we have to map to. In this case, it would be subject, which maps to promotion name, start date, and end date. Notice that while selecting the office property, you can only choose from those which have a compatible data type, making it easier to complete the mapping. The last warning is telling us that we have to select which columns we want to see in the picker in cases when we want to select one external item from a list. Now we have the option to specify filters. This allows us to optimize the data that we pulled from the backend. Let's say we only want to see promotions for online retail, so we can go ahead and create a filter for that. Let's filter by promotion type. It tells us the data type we're working against. Now we click to add. We can specify the name for the filter. The type of filter could be comparison, limit filter, page number, timestamp, or wildcard. For string data types, it's recommended to use a wildcard, which will internally translate to a like clause in queries used to get the data. And then we specify a default value, which would be online. Once we're done, click Finish, and all that's left is to save our external content type. Now we have an external content type that is reusable and opens up the opportunity to create an external list to bring the data into SharePoint with the familiar SharePoint list UI, which can be taken offline into SharePoint Workspace and/or Outlook, which you saw in our previous videos. Here we can see a summary for the external content type, including permissions which can be edited using SharePoint Server's central administration or through PowerShell, the fields, and the operations which we created. If you want to edit the operations, you can click the Operations Design view. Here you can delete or modify existing operations as well as add new ones. We can also quickly create an external list using SharePoint Designer using the Create List and Form icon in the ribbon. All we have to do is specify the name, the read item operation, and we have the option to create an info platform which we can later customize. If we do not select the info path form, we'll be using an automatically generated generic form. Once it's complete, you can see the new external list and external list section. Using the ribbon, we can quickly navigate to the list and preview the list in the browser. This is an example of how the list would come out, including the info path form, which we can later customize. So in just a few minutes using SharePoint Designer, we created an external content type using a database connector, created operations for full CRUD capability, optimized the data retrieved from the backend using filters, created an external list with a customizable info path form, which we can take offline into Outlook and SharePoint Workspace, and best of all, it is reusable for countless solutions.